Good afternoon, everybody. I've lost track today. So I'm Gavin McLaughlin from XIO. I presented one of these tech field days before, and I was actually Solution Development Director in EMEA when I last spoke at a tech field day. Things have changed around a little bit. I'm now VP of Worldwide Marketing at XIO. It means the buck stops with me kind of to a degree. I'm only going to spend 5 minutes at the intro. For those of you who don't know us, briefly introducing who XIO are and what we do. I'm going to hand it over to Hollis from the technical side because I don't want to bore you with marketing materials, although I was a techie before this, so don't worry, I'm reasonably in context. Those of you who don't know us, and I know there's a few around the room that we haven't actually briefed, although some we have extensively. XIO is a storage vendor. For many, many years, we had a challenge of what we call XI Who, and the reason being we had a very unusual technology which we used a very succinct marketing message of, we've got this really cool thing that does things a bit quirky, what would you like to use it for? Funny enough, that doesn't actually kind of work in getting growth for your company, but we've done well. We have about 200 employees currently. We're doing probably 70% of our business in North America, but we have some big installations now in Europe and in Asia. But the thing that was a bit different about this technology when it was born out of Seagate, for those of you who don't realise, is that Seagate had put together a storage array that doesn't need touching for 5 years. So it was a different concept of building an array that just is purely zero touch, isn't feature ridden, so it's kind of the opposite of NetApp. We haven't got snap something in every single product. It's about giving really predictable performance and really predictable reliability, which for many years made us suffer because people couldn't work out how they put it into an installation. You often needed a third party like a Falcon Store or a data core above it. But as the move to what some call software-defined storage or the intelligence move into the hypervisor, we're actually becoming more and more relevant. And there's a lot of people now are buying our technology to give that really predictable performance and to make storage, quite frankly, go away. So, if all the guys we've been talking to over the road at VMworld are saying, I don't want to deal with storage. Storage is a pain in the backside. I just want it to work. What have you got? So they're vAdmins, they're not storage guys. And we're finding suddenly that the take-up in this is immense because we solve a couple of problems. We make storage go away, sit in the corner and work. We give that predictable performance, and Hollis will talk about why we give predictable performance. And there's some other unusual traits, like you can fill a box up to 100% capacity, and you're going to get the same performance as when it was empty. So when you look at things like cloud service providers or people that need to sweat the asset to make money out of it, we actually become really, really relevant. But the best bit is, 5, 6 years ago, we made a load of marketing campaigns of we got this box that you never need to touch, can run at 100%. And of course, everyone doesn't believe marketeers. So they said, yeah, right, okay. Come back to us in 5 years. Well, the box has been out there for 5, 6 years now. We've got hundreds of customers who you can pick up the phone to and will tell you they've never needed to see a service engineer. This stuff actually does work. I didn't believe it when I joined. I've been here 3 years. I've been on 2 escalation calls. One because a customer did something silly in VMware, and one because of a manufacturing defect that we changed our whole manufacturing and test process because of that defect. We also took the guy who built it out the back and shot him in the back of the head, but that's another story. And we're finding we're more relevant now, whereas before, hands up, we were arguing that the whole market is moving to these software-defined things. I remember 2 years ago sitting in front of analysts who will remain nameless and being told I was insane. We're now seeing the market change, so that's where we're coming in. But we had a problem. We were selling the product and telling people you can use it to do whatever you want and hoping that people come up with ideas. And most of them did. But we found we need to focus from a marketing point of view. We're not a huge company. We don't have the VC backing of some of the unmentionables that were out in the hall at VMworld right now spending a lot of money. So how do we focus down? And we looked at who was buying our stuff, and we were seeing a pattern that a lot of people were using it for VDI. Hollis will come onto it, but we have a technology that enables us to move things between SSD and hard disks in real time and cope with bursty type workloads. So you guys know that VDI is a classic example of a bursty type workload that we can adapt to. But actually we were getting a lot of people come to us and saying, I've tried to do VDI and it's gone wrong. There's some stats running around I keep hearing from various analysts, whoever you talk to, that for every successful implementation of VDI, there's about 7 to 10 screw-ups, usually because of the storage. And I'm sure you've all probably got horror stories. So we set up something called VDI Emergency Response, which is a bit tongue-in-cheek, talking about how we can get a triage call within 24 hours with our technical guys, and we'll get equipment on site within 72 hours to plug the gap. Actually been really successful for a couple of reasons. One, whenever we do events, like we did VMworld in San Fran and we're front row, some of you saw us out there, we had the guys dressed up in doctor's coats, most importantly hanging out hangover recovery kits, which for some reason seemed rather popular. And funny enough, were really popular this morning. XIO Red Bull and hangover recovery kits seemed really popular. But the idea was communicating that we can get in there quickly and solve it. There's been a lot of write-ups. Mr. Meller kindly did a write-up for us. It's got us a lot of traffic. And we've had a lot of people contact us and say, yeah, I've got this real pain. Interestingly, we've also had a lot of channel partners contact us and say, you know what, I've avoided VDI like the plague because I hear all these horror stories and I don't want to get involved. You guys seem to be saying that you can take out complexity of VDI and remove risk. Could we come and talk about it? So we've picked up a lot of new channel partners as a result. But that's existing VDI that's gone wrong. So we've pushed heavily on that program. And then recently we launched something called XPod. XPod is yet another converged infrastructure reference architecture. You're probably sick to death of them. I'm going to put my hands up and admit I know you're sick to death of them. But we work with Cisco to produce what you may chuckle at. We try to call an honest reference architecture. There's a lot of people out there that will show you, here's how you can cram 500 users onto one of our storage boxes. And then you look in the small print and it says, assuming that there's no user data and they're doing no traffic and you never ever have a boot storm and never do a recompose. It's a bit like saying, I've got a Fiat 500 that can do 400 miles an hour, brackets, if you throw it off a cliff. Okay, it's cheating. And we've started to notice a bit of a pattern when I've been talking to a lot of journalists and a lot of customers of, look, can you call out some of the marketing hype that's going on in this industry? Because it's getting silly. There's a lot of people claiming they can do things. We probably all remember the million IOs per second stuff that's been doing the rounds, and you kind of stop that. My favorite lately has been the, if you deploy our storage, you'll get a 20-to-1 dedupe ratio. Well, you don't even know what the workload is. How do you know that? And by the way, it's an Oracle database. So XPod is a reference architecture that takes advantage of the ICE, the intelligent storage element, so it enables 100% utilization of all the resources. It's really simple to deploy. Our blueprint, if you take XPod and compare it to FlexPod, not that there's any similarity in the name, you'll look that the reference architecture is really thin. That's not because we haven't given you any detail, we have, it's just really, really simple to deploy this stuff. So again, we're seeing channel partners that are deploying this on behalf of customers, we're seeing customers that are doing it directly, we're seeing a whole blend of thing. So it really doesn't require what I would call dark art storage skills, and Hollis will show you how we've done that and some of the tools that we've worked with on VMware. So VMware have actually worked quite closely with us to get our tools right. So there's a number of things you can do directly from our ICE Manager suite, you can do from vSphere, you've got the choice to make it simple.